Aloha! I wanted to make an actual quick video this time and just let people know that last night I was on a live stream with Bro Sanchez and Masterpiece and a few other people on his Bro Sanchez live channel. It was just like a impromptu sort of thing. So I'm having difficulty getting the video to upload to my channel, so I figured I'd just leave a link in the description on this so you guys can go over to his channel and check it out. I think I was on there for a good, like, the last 2 hours almost. Feels like it was shorter, but I think it was like the last 2 hours. The topics were, you know, kind of all over the place, but the main thing was like a guy who was on that panel that was really just taking over the panel with his religious belief systems, and then kind of just like forcing it like a pastor or a preacher onto the whole live stream. And I don't know, that was just part of why I wanted to come onto that live stream and start to share something. But after the live stream, and what I wanted to share in this moment right here is something to keep in mind. Is one of the points that I made in that video is like how I approach the whole so-called truther community, flat earth community, and like the macro approach of those communities. So like how I see it, the way so-called truther communities and the flat earth community approaches the information, truth and flat earth information and heliocentric information is largely offensive. It's not like offensive, like, oh, you're offending me. No, like it's on the offense. As opposed, like, it's all about offense. It's not about defense. And when you know you're in a spiritual war, a psychological war, and a physical war, and any kind of war, you can't only play offense. You have to also be aware of your enemy's offense against you, and you have to play defense. You can't play your maximum offense unless you have your shields up, unless you have your maximum defenses up. This is the balance within this warfare. So you can see this easily with the way the so-called truther community is. It takes pride in the information that it has, and it projects it into the internet as if that's the only thing that needs to be worked on or focused on. But no, there's an actual intelligent design that's also attacking us. So we, in many different ways, for many different for many years and centuries and generations, this stuff is like in our genetics. This is a code that we have to realize and shift in some kind of way. So the realization of one side of what we need to do, it will eventually expose the realization of the other side of what you need to do. So the realization of the information that you were kept from is the truth part of it. But that's only one side. You can share the truth, which is very important to do. It's offensive work. It's like, yes, get this out there so people can start at least thinking for themselves. But once you get to a place of, you know, putting so much information out there that's like on the offense, you start to realize that there's not much information and there's not much work out there that's really focusing on or bringing light to the defensive weapons and the defensive mechanisms that we really need to start amplifying, rather than just, because what happens is it's easy to take the information, like I've said in videos, it's easy to take the truthful anchored position and just, you know, say, you guys are obviously, you know, in a mind control program, so ha 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 ha, like, well, you guys are fucked up. No, it's not like that. No, because we were like that just, you know, not that long ago. So, and what that also does is it keeps people from realizing their responsibility to not only playing defense, but expanding the consciousness and taking the responsibility of yourself outside of the mainstream warfare, like on like TV, like social media promoted versions of battles that are promoted, like with Trump, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Owen, Benjamin. All this shit It's all offensive. That's their version of offense. It's also a defense too, because the defense version is, in their case, is to normalize and humanize and the system while also desensitizing you. So that's a defense that the system is playing against us. It's an offense and a defense all in one. What the so-called truther community is doing right now, largely, I'm just generalizing, but it's very true. It's a known thing that you can see that's happening. The so-called truthers, the people that are, you know, presenting this information, it's not as complex as the system's hitting us with. The system is obviously playing offense and defense, and very well. They're even using our own systems against us. This is where Owen Benjamin and I say own systems because it's like loosely, because obviously this is YouTube, Google, and it's still their platform and so on and so forth. But this kind of interaction has more, there's more tangibility to it as opposed to other kinds of approaches. Not to say it's better or worse, I'm just saying with this one it's a very tangible thing that the system obviously sees as a threat in some kind of way. And if it's a threat, then that means that it's a possibility to make some movement, to play offense and defense. But what happens when you have a lot of people who get into the realization of external information that needs to be shared before they do the internal work, what happens is that they kind of get caught up in the external kind of the external projection of the information, but not really, kind of like the New Age community gets in the projection of the information, but it doesn't really go to the depths of the internal expansion that needs to happen before it gets, you know, expanded into the macro. So right now, not all, but, you know, a lot of the majority of the truther communities, a lot of these channels out there, you can see they're all about the offense. It's like, you guys are wrong and this is what's right. You guys are wrong and this is what's right. You guys are wrong and this is what might be right. Well, we don't know. We're questioning. So that's still offense, offense, offense. It does nothing for the defense. So this is why I play all of the stories on that need to be, that are mixed, that I'm aware of, that would require some defensive moves and even offensive moves that aren't even being made. Because if you're not playing defense or aware of the need to play defense, then you're also going to keep yourself away from your capabilities, your maximum capabilities of actually playing offense as well. Once you get better at playing one thing, you'll get better at playing another thing. So, but right now, with what YouTube, how YouTube designs everything and how the system of attention and the attention span of individuals designs things is with creating a space to where it's just linear programming. So like I said in previous videos, focusing on only one side when you have another side is very linear. But people are used to the linear approach, so that's why one-sided approaches to stuff like truth is very successful on the internet. And speaking on the other side, like the defense is very unsuccessful, because when you start talking about the defense in the macro scale, you're talking about worlds that people haven't integrated in their own consciousness yet. So it's going to create some kind of disconnect. It's going to create some kind of insecurity or some kind of crack in their system. And the only way to deal with that crack a lot of the times is to project it back onto you. So when I bring up information that exposes the intelligence behind eugenics, colonialism, genocide, white supremacy, and that whole intelligence that was used against many, like many of us, like the whole world in many different ways, when I bring that to light, since people haven't done that work, it seems to be, it's taken as like, oh, I'm a bad guy because I'm, you know, saying information that might sound like some of the information the system talks about, but it only sounds that way because the individuals haven't calibrated themselves to see, to put, they don't have anywhere to put that information. So when it gets into their consciousness, they block it. They keep it, stay away from me, stay away from me. You're a bad person with bad information, because they are set in their ways. They are set in their one-liner linear ways of projecting and interpreting this reality. So anything that is non-linear that comes into their space will be seen as a threat. The system knows this, plays this, and will continue to emphasize this or expand this because that's beneficial for the system in the long run when they come around with the truth that we've already been sharing and present it in a perspective of offense and defense. See, that's why the system is so believable to people, to slaves, because they play offense and defense. They're playing both the bad guy and the good guy. But you know, we have to expose both them playing the bad guy and the good guy. It's not us playing like the bad guy and the good guy. No, we're exposing all this shit, and we have to bring light to the offense and defense and simultaneously play our own offense and defense. But that's not happening right now because what gets views, what's accepted, what's liked, what's loved by all the people who are still on their journey is what's comfortable, is what's linear, is what's like, you know, pushes, you know, one version of reality. But if you start pushing other buttons, you're gonna lose subscribers, you're gonna lose grips on what you think you've built up for so long. And that's kind of what's holding us back. That's part of what's holding us back from moving forward, because we're really talking about expanding our consciousness outside of the limitation consciousness that entrapped us in the first place. So if that's the case, we have to expand our approach to this warfare outside of the approach to the warfare that the system provides for us. So we're not even getting up to how we are being approached by the warfare. They're hitting us with offense and defense. We only respond with offense. So we're not even playing half of the warfare game that they're playing. We're playing like damage control with our basic ass offense. So the defense, like I said, to end this, is to bring light to the beastly nature of that consciousness, like the fucked up nature of the evolution theory, the human story, in reference to like the lying heliocentric realm and that whole mentality. So as long as we don't, you know, bring light to that, the system still seems benevolent. If we're never playing defense and always playing offense, because this is what happens when you play defense. You bring light to how destructive and fucked up the system is. But if you're only playing offense and never playing defense, meaning never exposing how fucked up that world and that intellect is, if you're never playing the defense and showing how this is affecting individual people, the collective masses and groups of people, if you don't bring light to that, it's nothing's really going to change. Like you're always going to be in the position of your aggressor, the aggressor against you. You're always going to be stuck in that space. So I just wanted to bring light to that, because this is something that I've been seeing that's been really missing in the so-called truther community. I've been doing my best to share like the other side of that. See, like defense, like my examples of how I share what defense is to share information that explains to people how they are more than human, and not to limit yourself to the mind control programs of being a human. That is designed to keep you away from your most high nature. This is the design. That's the religious design. You want to go into the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts of, you know, religions after that. That's by all means, go right ahead. But what it really boils down to is you are an expression of the Most High. Now what? Are you going to forever give the power to the system and only play offense? Or are you going to realize your inherent nature and expose the beastly nature of that system at the same time? That would be the only way that you would be able to approach this system the way it approaches us when they play both offense and defense. So in closing, for all the channels making videos right now, keep in mind, or at least take into account, like, or maybe even, you know, have a little discussion about it in the difference between offense and defense. And I am generalizing too, because the offensive nature of the information that is, that I'm saying is mostly all offense. In many ways, it is also defensive. It's a defensive move to play offense. It's the same thing too. Like even when you're playing in a sport, I'm not saying we're only doing this and not doing the other. What I'm saying is that the majority, we are very much in the, and I say we because I'm sharing information too with a lot of people too, but we as a whole are very much in the 90-somethingth percentile of only sharing offensive information on the offense, and never this is what flat earth is completely. The whole flat earth so-called community is an only offensive approach to this system. It's not, if it's any kind of defense, it's in the smallest of percentage, like a single digit percentage in the 90th percentile is in the higher 90th percentiles of only offense. And is an expression of like an individual who only plays offense, an expression of the artificial ego getting more bold because it's been enlivened with information. The same thing that happens in the New Age community. In the New Age community, they get like spiritual egos, and then they enliven their artificial spiritual ego, where it's just this. They start, surrounding themselves with all this extra for nothing, for no reason stuff. But it's like the true nature of the spiritual individual is to be naked. So the spiritual ego needs to cloud itself with a lot of spiritual things to reassure itself of its spiritual emptiness in a lot of ways. This is just examples for the most part generalizing, but it does exist. And this is what I'm saying is happening in the so-called truther communities, in flat earth communities, instead of being artificially, instead of in what is that word? Instead of like expanding the spiritual ego in the New Age community, in so-called truther communities, the individuals are expanding like an intellectual ego. So there's a artificial intellectual ego that doesn't have anything. The intellect has nothing to do with you as a person. You might, like, you didn't make the information up. You didn't discover it. The information's always already been there, and it had already been discovered and amplified in many different ways by our ancestors already. So we can't really like take responsibility for this shit. Like the best we can do is kind of like open the door for other people to do their own work in reference to what that means. And what I'm saying is that involves playing both offense and defense, not one side. So we have to jump outside of this linear sort of approach of, this is this and that's that, and really start to take into account all these versions of warfare that we're being hit with, and how we have to play both offense and defense on both, or not. It's up to you, like I said, or not. It's up to the individual. This is for the people who with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. If you're gonna do something about it, do something about it. If not, stay your little funky self in the comment section and start, talking about, oh, this is the way it is. You're just this and that, and you're this and that, and okay, whatever. That's up to the individuals to do that on and on and on again. But like I said, what this ain't about these individuals. Like this. The individual is secondary. My approach, the individual consciousness or the micro is secondary to the macro when I put stuff on here on the internet, because like I said, and I say it again in closing, we have to heal these wounds. In order for us to empower ourselves, we have to come from the perspectives that are outside of these linear sort of individualistic approaches, like only offense. No, we got to get into expanding upon the defense. Start realizing who and what you are. Set some fire underneath. Underneath your soul, so you can kind of like, not kind of like, but actually wake up in many different ways. We don't understand and overstand what the spiritual and the psychological fire is. We don't understand what the Most High fire is. But we are expressions of that. We are kept from that because with systems that are largely telling us to approach everything from a linear offensive position. That's another attack on us by the system, is to download into us, because the system promotes that whole linear approach throughout the mainstream media. This is why it's so comfortable and easy for YouTube channels and all this other stuff to do that approach. And this is just an example. This is why I wanted to share this part of this video, is because when you listen to that dude, I think his name is Pillbox or something like, yeah, Pillbox. When you listen to him speak, you can listen to his tone, his style in this video right now. I think I come into this video around at the 16-minute mark. I think, yeah, like 16 minutes. So you'll hear this Pillbox dude who's all about the Bible, all about, you know, whatever he's about, but it's mostly like challenging people from the perspective of the Bible, and the Bible being the word of God and that whole thing. But you'll hear in the video, this dude just deflects from everything, never answers any of the questions, because like I said, his alchemy, and the alchemy that he didn't invent it, he downloaded it from, you know, the system itself. His alchemy is all about offense. So he hits you with scriptures. He hits you with like how everybody else is, you know, wrong for thinking this way. And then it's all about, you know, Jesus Christ, the Bible, and then all this other. And then they separate themselves from the bad Christians and the good Christians. You know, it's a very complex system that is a mirror image of the regime, or the empire, the regime consciousness. So I'll leave it there. Check this video out. I'll leave the link in the description. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.